Hello and welcome to the first episode of Catholic Mindset Podcast. In this episode, we're just going to do an introduction of who I am and what we're doing here. I'll start a little bit with myself. My name is Alejandro Cervalli. I am a Peruvian. I live here in Miami, or as we say, the concrete jungle. I record here from my makeshift studio closet. I also have other podcasts that have inspired me and given me the confidence to start a podcast of this nature. I'm a cradle Catholic, as they say. Born and raised Catholic, so I'm very blessed. I did my MBA in Franciscan University, so I spent there like a year and a half. It was great times. I really enjoyed the school. I think the Franciscan University was a true Catholic school. I really liked how the university really lived the faith. You could really feel that the presence of the Lord was amongst the students, and they practiced it, they shared it. The school life lived it. So that to me was a surprise, and a very welcome surprise, because it helped me grow in my faith and growing together with the fellow students, and made great lasting relationships. So I do recommend Franciscan University, all those seeking to live a true Catholic education experience. I am also a CCD teacher. I have one class now, depending on the year, and this is my third year teaching CCDs. It has been interesting, exciting, and challenging. If you've done it before, you know what I'm talking about, depending on your age range. Yeah, so you might be wondering why I'm calling it Catholic Mindset Podcast. Well, first, because mindset is a very popular name nowadays. But it's truly inspired by Genesis chapter 1, 27 to 28, where it says, God creates man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. So I was watching one of Bishop Barron's videos. I'm a big fan, and I support when I can and by purchasing his CDs. And he starts talking about how we're created in the image and likeness of God, and he mentions that also in our minds. So that really kind of stuck with me. I was just thinking about that over and over again, and it's like when we read those words, we're created in the image and likeness of God. I think about my body when I see in the mirror, but I didn't really go beyond that and think about my mind. It's really changed a little bit my perspective on how I approach the Mass and the teachings of Jesus. I try to think of what he was thinking about, what he was trying to do. I'm trying to change my mindset into an imitation of Christ by trying to meditate more on the words of Jesus Christ, on the words of the Mass, on the Eucharist, on many aspects and basic fundamentals of our faith. How do we go from passively listening to actively practicing and living what we are taught? That's a more interesting question to me. In order for us to practice our faith, we need to understand the fundamentals, like the basics, the roots. I discovered the importance of that when I was putting together a class on the word grace. I myself, I'm going to be honest, I didn't really know what the word grace really meant now that I know the true definition, because I was trying to find a way to start from the basics. My CCD students normally, they are students that are not part of Catholic education program, so they come to CCD to get that so that they can get their communion or confirmation. So anyways, I was putting together this topic for my students, and I discovered that the word grace means shared divine life. So listening to this video on Formed about these priests explaining what the word grace means, it really gave me a completely different understanding of my faith, because now that I know what the word grace means, everything has a different meaning now. It is a more true meaning of what the teachings of Jesus Christ, what the Catholic Church is trying to teach, the Mass, the Eucharist, everything has a completely different meaning now that I know that it's all about sharing that divine life with the Father. That's what Jesus came here to do, to tell us that our lives are important, that we are from the Father, meant to go back to the Father and share in his divine love and life. And the Catholic Church does a great job in explaining and breaking down what that truly means. We just need to spend more time into developing an understanding and learning and adopting those teachings in our day-to-day life. I will do a summary of that video on a second podcast, because it's really going to be important for you to understand those fundamental parts so that you and I are on the same page as we go through the episodes of this podcast. So finally, this is going to be a interview-based podcast, or at least I'm going to try to have as many guests as I can to teach us different things. Part of it because that's the type of podcasts I've done in the past, and it is also a way for me to learn from others because I am not good at studying. I've never been the best student ever, but I'm a good listener. And I rather listen to people, make friends, share the word of God, and I think it's a win-win. I'm going to shoot for 20-minute segments, so they should be easy to go through. They're going to be educational. They're going to be very fundamentally based, so we're going to try to go to the root, to the definition of things, so that we have a more rich understanding of certain things, just like we did with grace, where I break down this video that I saw on grace. So I will leave you with that. So please support the podcast by subscribing, sharing it with your friends, and I will leave my email in the show notes. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate. And also please subscribe to our newsletter. All the information in the show notes. So thank you and God bless.